Ladies and gentlemen, today I got some good news for you guys. The TRITON is finally getting nerfed, and there's a whole bunch of other balance changes and some very questionable nerfs. First thing they talk about is tonnage calculation mechanics. I saw this in their Q&A, and basically what they're gonna do is they're also gonna remove the resistances to movement parts if they're not touching the ground. They've already nerfed our freedom twice. First, they removed the tonnage that you would get from the movement parts that are not touching the ground, and then they removed the perks that you would get from the movement parts that are not touching the ground, and now they also remove all the bonus resistances the parts have. I was never a big fan of these changes, but I know that people use, some tricks to give their builds a little bit more survivability. I mean, that's what the whole point is of the game, right? Make your build survive the longest. But the problem was the perks and the parameters of certain parts were just making the build super strong. It should not be the end of the world though. They're also nerfing the robotic legs a little bit when combined with boosters. If you guys remember the races I did with boosters with robotic legs, they were crazy fast, way too OP. And to prevent them being too strong in PvP in the future, they're also going ahead and preventing that from happening. Next up is machine guns. They're changing all of the machine guns, but I'm gonna need your help on this one because they're mentioning ballistics disabled. Now, I know that ballistics has something to do with the projectile and firing, but I'm not sure what they mean by just disabling it. So if you could explain this to me in the comment section down below, me and everybody else that doesn't understand it would really appreciate it. I'm not gonna go over all the machine guns, but for most of them, I see they're getting more durability, their weight is getting adjusted, they're getting their ballistics disabled, the effects of the movement speed on spread reduced by 2 times, increase in spread after firing reduced by 40 times, and increase in spread when turning the weapons reduced by 36%. And all of them are also getting a slight damage increase. The Punisher perk damage bonus is reduced by 50%. That's crazy. Yeah, they're doing this for all the machine guns except for like the big caliber miniguns like the Miller Reaper and the Devourers. For the shotguns, they're not mentioning anything about the ballistics, but they are getting a very big durability buff, and also their mass is getting, or their weight is getting adjusted. The remedy is getting a perk change, which is good. The remedies have always felt kinda weird, and now it's getting a perk that as the weapon overheats, its damage protection increases up to 50%. Now keep in mind guys, these are just preliminary changes. These are not final, so things might still change. Oh, apologies fellas, for the remedy, they're adding an additional perk. Same thing for the Draco, they're adding a perk. And so for the Draco, the damage is increased by 35% for 6 seconds, depending on how hard you ram the enemy. The Fireball is also getting an additional perk. If the armored car moves at a speed of 70 kilometers or higher, the weapon damage increases by 30%. And they're mentioning their flamethrowers had no special perk. It's time to fix that. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. The nail guns are getting a long overdue buff. I think it's been 20 years since the nail guns got an actual buff. For the Summoner, damage is increased by 30%, spread increased during charging reduced by 59%, penetration ability reduced by 20%, so it's going from 70 to 50. The rotation speed is now always at the maximum speed. The projectile speed now increases by 75% as the weapon charges. They're not buffing the durability? Damn, this thing is so weak. The argument, that's the teal version. The argument is the epic version, and for this one, no durability buff either, so I think they're still gonna be trash. For the argument, the number of projectile in a charge shot increased from 4 to 6, so it will deal more damage. Damage is reduced by 5, why? Damage reduced by 5%. Reload time reduced from 0.8 to 0.5 seconds. Perk reload time bonus reduced from 30 to 10%. Perk charge time bonus reduced from 5 to 3%, but stack 6 time instead of 4. Honestly, it feels like they're making the argument worse with all these changes, but we'll have to see what happens. Out of nowhere, they're nerfing radios. Well, they're getting a durability buff, but you can now only mount 2 on your build instead of infinite amount. I also saw this in the Q&A for the Clarinet Toad, and so they're buffing the rocket's durability from 30 to 35 points and added a 75 resistance to bullet damage to the rocket. Crazy. The ATGM flute got a perk adjustment. The perk now increases damage by 25% instead of 14 before, but stacks 3 times instead of 5, which is, I think, better. The Augur also got a slight change. The projectile now deals 125 points of damage on impact and has 100% penetration ability. Projectile blast damage increased by 50%, and periodic damage increased from 1.2% to 1.5%. So they're saying unpopular weapon. It has a specific purpose, and in PvP you cannot use this weapon. It doesn't do enough So they're trying to make it deal a little bit more damage to where if the structural parts are weak, you can finish them off or you can destroy them with the Akari. But that won't help much. The Akari already has a purpose. People who use the Akari, you know, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I don't use this. All I know is that people use it in Leviathan Clan Wars or Leviathan battles. The Aurora got adjusted again. Remember how they nerfed the Aurora's, I think, heating rate or damage by 10% a while back? Well, now they're increasing the damage by 30% again. The Aurora, when upgraded for a faster heating rate, is quite strong, but it still doesn't pack a punch because they're very low durability. With this, they're actually going to become very scary. With the photon cabin, these are actually going to be really, really scary. The Yokai is getting a adjustment again. It got buffed like 2 updates ago, but I guess it wasn't enough. I played it. It felt okay, but it was still rough to use against ground builds and spiders. On hovers, it was god tier, but against every other build, it was kind of trash. So they're increasing the damage by 100%. Perk no longer increases the damage, but only increases the blast radius by 39%. Sorry, apologies. The perk now increases the blast radius to 80% instead of 150, and the blast radius was just increased by 39%. The crickets are getting a very surprise buff. The durability increased to 259, energy consumption reduced from 10 to 9, which is huge. And the PS is also reduced, which is amazing. Look at their comment, low efficiency. The change is similar to the recent changes to the unguided rocket. Well, to be fair, I'm using upgraded crickets, which is a night and day difference compared to the normal cricket. So the durability buff is welcome. The energy reduction is also really nice. I'm actually happy with this. The crickets are some of the cheapest epic weapons to get, and they're really good. But it's just that if you're a new player and you're trying to get crickets, it's hard to run. It's hard to run them because of how much energy they required. The Doom is getting a pretty big nerf. Apparently the Dooms were OP. I knew they had, you know, one-shot potential, but I guess people were using it a lot. So the damage with no charge reduced by 16%, the damage with a full charge reduced by 29%, the charging time reduced from 4 to 2.5 seconds, which is surprising that they buffed that, and the reload time reduced from 5 to 3 seconds. Huh. Very surprised that they're nerfing the damage but buffing their firing speed. Interesting. I think what was happening is because of the perk of the Doom, the additional projectiles were also dealing a crazy amount of damage, and they were exploding on the same point as the main shell or the main projectile, giving it the ability to one-shot a build. I think that's what's happening. Now, this is a change I'm not too happy about. They're gonna make this thing well, not impossible, but they're basically nerfing the Raijin to the ground. Charge time increased from 4 to 4.5 seconds. That's okay, no problem there. But the charge holding time reduced from 3 to 2.5 seconds. You know how difficult it is to time your shots in a window of 2.5 seconds? It is incredibly annoying. Basically, what people are gonna have to do is just charge and shoot. But now that they're increasing the charge time, I hate using weapons like this where you need to pre-charge in order to shoot to get a good damage. The same thing with the assemblers and the mastodons, but the mastodons just hit really hard. I don't like this change. Honestly, the Raijin would be better off with a 5-second charge time and just an infinite holding time. And they should do the same thing for the Kaiju. Infinite holding time. The whole holding time situation is just not fun. Anyways, let's move on. The Inferno cabin is also getting adjusted. Let me see what they're doing with it. Minimum speed of charging the perk increased by 2 times. Maximum speed of charging the perk increased by 1.5 times. Parts attached to the cabin no longer heat up during perk activation. Accumulated perk charge is no longer reset if there are no enemies nearby. Oh! Straight up unpopular cabin. Yeah, so perks that give you a disadvantage are never fun to use. And there were better options out there. 30% more damage is nice, but yeah. So you should get the perk faster and basically have no penalties. I think the cabin will still heat up though. The Savior cabin is still a trash cabin, and so they're doing some more adjustments. Some welding points move from the sides to the roof of the cabin. Oh, I saw this in their Q&A. People were complaining about this. And also the Machinist cabin. For the Bastion cabin, the blade at the front of the cabin now has 50% resistance to energy damage. Ah, that's welcome. That's a welcome change. Oh no, fellas. They removed the interaction of the perk with precision rocket launchers like the Nest and the Trombone. That is crazy. Wow, I'm actually disappointed. I'm actually... So they are buffing the projectile speed of the Trombone. Oh, They're reducing the what? Wow, this is really disappointing to see. Yeah, it's really disappointing. So instead of making the Argus, well, forget it, Argus. Instead of making the interceptor more useful to where it can detonate the rockets off your build, they're completely nerfing the only way to play the nest effectively. Dude, oh my god. Oh god, they're listening to idiots. Dude, I have played the nest. Remember how I called the nest trash all those times? I played it in the air, I played it on the ground. The nest was just garbage. The only way to play the nest was with the step spider cabin. Forget the trombone. You know, okay, they can get rid of the trombone because, you know, double the damage. But the nest alone was quite alright with the step spider cabin. It was annoying to deal with if you didn't have a way to deal with it, and that's you gotta let people think outside of the box. Let them use the interceptor if they want to counter nest. The interceptor is a small module, only one energy. You know, instead of a cloak, they'll have to use that. Or they can also run a cloak and an interceptor. Have two ways to avoid getting hit by missiles. I'm very disappointed in this change. The Catalina is getting yet another nerf. The damage bonus is reduced from 7 to 6%. The Catalina cabin, let me see, too high efficiency of a cabin. Yeah, I would say it's not a super popular cabin. The low mass limit and everything. Not a lot of people use it except for the really skilled players that have a super light build and just could charge the perk from a distance. I've seen some people just farming in the bag and getting a max stack and just dealing crazy damage, but that's because nobody focuses them. And with the Catalina, it has already become super difficult to charge your perk with specific weapons, except for like the energy ball weapons like the Jupiter and the Morda. You get one perk per charge or one perk per shot, that which was kind of strange. But for most other weapons out there, you know, it was kind of tricky to get 10 times the charge. Also kind of disappointed in this change, to be honest. And by the way, all these changes were from the Q&A. People bitching about these changes. The one for the tank track too. Durability increased from 1440 to 1810 points. Mass increased as well and added the ability to mirror the track in build mode. Oh, okay, that's interesting, I guess. The Goliath track is also getting, durability is going to 1990. Mass increased to 220 kilos. They added more welding points to the inner surface and added the ability to mirror the tank track in build mode. Okay, that's cool, I guess, because you could never do that. You would have to use 2 on one side for left and 2 on the right side for right. The Sleipnir tracks is also getting above such a useless track. Power score reduced, power penalty reduced, and also the ability to mirror the tracks. Such a useless track. The Meat Grinder is getting a durability buff. Yeah, these get shot off really fast. The maximum perk protection bonus reduced from 200 to 125%. Augur damage increased from 20 to 30 points. Interesting. Oh, because they're reducing the damage. Maximum perk damage reduced from 400 to 200%. So, okay. So it's not gonna do a crazy amount of damage and have a crazy amount of protection if you're using a heavy build, but hopefully it's they said it's to increase the efficiency, so hopefully it's good. They're also making some adjustments to the Titan wheels. The Titan wheels have been getting nerfed since their arrival. And now the perk charging time, delay before the next charge, and reset time for the uncharged perk reduced by 2 times. And the perk now restores 10% durability instead of 20. So you'll get a faster charge, but only 10%. Okay, they're just, switching things up. Should remain almost the same. The Bigrams. When moving at a speed of 35 kilometers or higher, the leg's resistance to damage increases by 25%. It was a complete perk change though. I don't know what the Bigrams perk is right now, but apparently it was trash because they're changing it. The oh man, what, the Shiver? No, wait, the Shiver. Oh, okay, no, this is the module. The Shiver cooling efficiency increased from 85 to 125%. Wow, that's a lot. The Waltz is getting a nice durability buff, 352, as I always wanted. Their weight is also getting adjusted. And their spread increase in relation to their movement speed also reduced by 33%. And they completely disabled the spread increase when turning. Wow, that's crazy. For the Assembler, they removed turning slowdown while charging. I never knew that was a thing, but I'm happy it's gone. Like for me, I don't want penalties when I'm using specific weapons or cabins or movement parts. I only want to get a penalty when I'm getting attacked by the enemy. For the Skadi, they're also disabling the ballistics. I'm not sure what that means again. And the maximum range reduced from 200 to 70 meters. Does this mean that they won't have like an arc anymore, but they'll just fire straight? That's really dumbing down the weapon if that's the case. They're saying that the long range was not used and became redundant due to the lack of ballistics. Well, because I couldn't see If I could maybe see where I was shooting, I would use the long range. The legendary drone Vulture is also getting adjusted. Drone lifetime increased from 22 to 30 seconds. Ooh, that means with the head-on combo, you can spam the area. Enemy detection distance increase. Ooh, that's also good. Enemy pursuit speed also increased. Wow, nothing but buffs. Because I remember with the head-on combo, you can have a total of 18 vultures on the map. But, you know, that was in the garage. In PvP, it's a little bit trickier. The parser number of pellets in the shot increased from 6 to 8. Yeah, I tried the parsers out not too long ago. Cool weapon, but it's pretty trash now. The slaughterer is also getting adjusted. Blast radius of the initial projectile when shooting without holding the fire button increased by 30%. That's good. Perk max damage bonus increased from 21 to 30. The slaughterers are crazy strong in the right hands, so getting these buffed is cool for regular people, but those guys who are god tier with them are gonna be even deadlier. The split is getting a nerf though. Amount of damage required to charge a perk increased by 12.5%, and the perk damage bonus reduced from 15 to 10%. High efficiency of the perk. Yeah, the perk or the splits right now feel better than relic shotguns, which is kind of crazy. And here it is, fellas, the long awaited nerf. The TRITON is getting a nerf. The amount of damage required to charge a perk increased by 25%, which I am totally fine with. The barrel tips blast radius reduced by 35%, which I'm also totally fine with. I'll admit, the splits, even though I like them, it's cool, they were a little bit too efficient. And I think it was mainly the perk, the explosion was too efficient or too effective. Here's another unexpected nerf, the Satori. The Satori cabin is getting a damage boost reduction from 40 to 35%, which I'm okay with. 40 was crazy work. The only cabin that I'll say that deserves it is the cockpit cabin, because you gotta use boosters to get that damage. And so in my opinion, no cabin or module or anything in the game should give you this much damage boost or buff, because there are multiple different factors that you can get a pretty high damage. You can use the J-code driver, for example, Satori, Jackie, the perk of the weapon itself. So there's so many different ways you can get a high damage, and just having one item that can give you already 40 is kind of crazy. In my opinion, it should be 30%, but 35 is a good start, especially since everybody already got the cabin now. It's kind of sucky to change it now. The Marsh cabin is getting adjusted as well. I feel like the Marsh cabin became kind of useless after the heavy nerf. Maximum speed increased to 61. Mass limit increased to 22 kg. Bonus to ally damage increased to 25%. And ally damage boost radius increased from 50 to 70 meters. So you can give your allies more damage than you do. That's funny. The cohort cabin is also getting some adjustments. Bonus to ally resistance no longer depends on type of cabin, and it's always 30%. Yes, that's so amazing. Ally resistance boost radius increased from, wow, that's good. That's really good. The cohort cabin is that's really nice. For the Yokozuna, mass limit increased to 20,500 kilos. Insufficient mass for the current speed value. Have they seen how fast you can go with the Yokozuna and some outlaw wheels? I don't think so. I did 110 kilometers per hour, although it was on a naked build. Maybe with some armor it becomes slower, but I don't think so. For the machinist cabin, some welding points were moved from the sides to the roof of the cabin. Yeah, people were complaining about this in the Q&A. The Oyabun, perk duration reduced from 6 to 4 seconds. Why? I don't know. I don't know about this one. I don't really use the perk. Maybe I use it unknowingly, but I don't know. The Jackie, wow. Jackie damage bonus reduced from 15 to 12. Blast damage reduced by 40%. Blast damage? Oh, okay, the damage. Okay, that's good though. That's good. The blast damage was a little bit too much. But the damage bonus, which is actually good, kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier. There's so many different ways you can buff the damage, and having a module that gives you a way excessive amount or just an excessive amount was just no bueno. The Relic minigun, the Devourer, is getting an adjustment as well. Added the effect of reload bonuses to the time between shots in a burst. I have no idea what that means. For the Helicon, maximum perk bonuses are now achieved after the projectile travels 120 meters instead of 180 previously. Durability increased to, wow, nice. Mass increased to, okay, not bad, not bad. For the Nemesis, the perk charge delay reduced from 1.5 to 1 second. What? Are they kidding me? They're doing this on purpose. The Nemesis is one of the most effective weapons in Clan Wars right now. What the hell are they talking about? And for those who were with me during the stream, you guys saw what that one dude was doing with the Nemesis. With just a blink of an eye, he would disarm you super duper quick. And they already ninja nerfed the Helios and the Prometheus just to make this thing shine, because the Helios was outperforming it. And that's pretty much it, fellas. The rest they just talk about when the test servers are gonna be live. I'll be honest, most of the changes seem good, except for that one word for the Catalina. That was really disappointing. And the spider cabin for the nest. Those were the only two changes that were just... Yeah, this one got me off guard. This is crazy. Dudes, the nest is gonna become unusable because nobody uses the nest without this combo, because it's just straight up trash. And they're not even buffing the nest or anything. They're just leaving it like that. And the fact that they're also making the trombone shittier is nasty work. I already think that the trombone requires way too much energy. If a dove, sorry, not the dove, if a squall can cost 4 energy, why the heck is a trombone also 4 energy? But you know, I'm so upset that I'm upset. I'm really upset that they're doing this. Like, most of the changes seem... Oh, the Raijin was also kind of disappointing. Yeah, most of the changes seem okay. If something is too strong, adjust it. Most things in this update are getting a slight buff. But man, the Raijin, the Nest, the Sceptrider Cabin, and the Catalina are undeserved. The Satori even is fine. 40% is way too much damage. Alright, fellas, well, let me know what you guys think of these changes in the comments down below. Let me know if you agree, or maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you agree with these changes, or maybe you disagree. Let me know in the comment section down below. Even the agree with the Triton change, because, you know, the Tritons are just too strong. You know, it's obvious. But the Catalina, the Nest, dude, we have it doesn't make sense. We have an interceptor in the game. The Cami cabin, I know it's a legendary cabin, expensive. Oh yeah, why don't they fix the market? Why don't they fix the market so people can afford stuff? What the fuck? Why don't they do that? They added a module in the game, the Flock, to counteract these items. And guess what? They added in a battle pass, and to where now it like costs like 8,000 coins to buy it. Why don't they fix that? Why don't they add it in a tech tree to where it becomes available for everybody? It is a module that does not require energy, but it is unobtainable because of the price. But nope, instead of that, making them not maybe earn as much money, they're gonna change an item that everybody already had invested in, and now it's gonna be in our storage, just collecting dust until something gets buffed, or one of the items gets buffed again. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. On the test server, I'll check what the ballistic removal will do or how it affects the gameplay. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this informative. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.